Good afternoon to you, and as always, let me welcome you to our Wednesday relaunch. Lovely to have you here with us, and I hope most of you have had the chance to enjoy some good soup, and always grateful to Heather and her team for producing it for us, and I hope you've enjoyed that. One of the things about a Wednesday lunchtime is that it's kind of halfway through the day, it's halfway through the week, and for many of us, often our experience is that we wish we could wind the clock back and we could kind of start all over again. Sometimes we start the day all over again, we just have a bad day, and you think, you know what, I wish I could start it all again. Sometimes it's a bad week, and sometimes it's life. You know, we just kind of think, if I could wind the clock back and just be able to start all over again, I would do things really very differently now, knowing what I know now. And that in some ways is really the kind of theme that I want to pick up on today in what we're going to be thinking about as we take just a few minutes to learn a little bit from the Bible. And I thought I'd start with a photograph from a bygone age. We'll put the photo on the screen for you, I hope. And that's a photo of myself and my siblings. And you can have a look at that and try and figure out which one is me. Anyone like to guess which one is me? Alice? Yeah, you got it, because the arrow actually gives it, that's me. And you'll be probably thinking to yourselves, oh, what a cute wee boy, what on earth happened in life to make him not like that. But there were the kind of four of us. It went kind of girl, boy at 2-year intervals, and then my mum and dad ran out of steam, I think, or something happened, but it kind of ended there. There were just the four of us. And I think they just kind of thought they would get a professional photographer in to get a photo of the four of us, as, you know, proud parents do. And so they had that lovely little photo of us, and all of us looking really cute and that sort of thing. And then about 12 years later, because I think in that photo my oldest sister, her who must be obeyed, she must have been about 8 and I must have been about 6, and then my sister would be 4 and the brother 2. About 12 years later, it's kind of coming up to our parents' 25th wedding anniversary, I think, and my older sister figured it'd be a really nice idea if we were able to give a photo, a professional photo, to our parents as an anniversary gift. Saying, you know, look what the 25 years have produced for you, aren't you pleased, type of thing. And so we kind of arranged with a professional photographer to get another professional photograph taken. And we figured it'd be nice to kind of line up the way we'd lined up the previous time. And we ended up with this photo. I will put this one on the screen for you, just see the change that there has been. You can probably recognize we're still sitting in the same place. We have changed a little bit, but it's the same individuals and so on, just a little bit taller and that sort of thing. And it was a hugely traumatic experience for me. And I'll tell you why. Because as we kind of got into our places, we all knew our place. You know, my older sister on the left, because she's top dog and things like that. Youngest brother down on the right. As we got into our place, the photographer looked at me and he said to me, here, he said, give me your face and I'll fix it for you. And 2 thoughts went through my mind straight off. One, am I really that ugly? And it was a kind of indication of my basic insecurity, I suppose. I was not flattered by that remark at all. I kind of thought this confirms my worst fears, that I must be uglier than I ever thought. If a guy that I've never met before, his first words to me are, give me your face and I'll fix it for you. And the second thought that went through my mind simultaneously was, and I hesitate to say this because it kind of goes out to the whole world, the second thought that ran through my head was, you give me your face and I'll smash it. But that was just a thought, because I was 6'3" and I was 6'3" then, and he was about 6'6", so he had a kind of height advantage. He also had one of these kind of big, heavy, solid cameras, so he had a kind of advantage in terms of weaponry, and he had a tripod. And I thought, this is kind of David Goliath take 2, and it's not going to work out the same way, so I figured that it was maybe better if I didn't come out with that. But it did, on that occasion, it did underline for me something, I suppose, that had been kind of eating away in my heart over many a year, which was, you know what, actually I do need to get fixed. I do need to be changed, because not only was I aware of that basic insecurity that there was in my life, where I lacked the confidence really to do most things, But I also realized that actually there was a really perverse streak in me that I tried to keep hidden from everyone else. But at moments like that, when someone came to me and said, give me your face and I'll fix it for you, my instinct was to say, give me your face and I'll smash it. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that that's what I was like inside. Even if no one else saw it, I knew what I was like inside. And I realized that I needed to be fixed. I needed to be changed. And it was that really, as much as anything, that drew me to the message of the Bible, which speaks about what Jesus does in our lives and how he gives to us what I've called a total refit. And that's what we're going to pick up on today. And just a line or two from probably the most famous chapter in the whole Bible. It's called Psalm 23, that starts, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then it goes straight on to speak about the way in which he effects change in our lives. And that change that the Psalm speaks about is exactly what I was looking for, exactly what I needed. He makes me lie down by green pastures, leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. 3 different dimensions to the change that Jesus effects in our lives. And I want you to appreciate that. I want you to know that. I want you to recognize that that indeed is what God means that you and I should experience through making Jesus the Lord our shepherd and saying, Jesus, you know what? There's a whole load of stuff that I don't understand about you, about the world, about life. There's a whole load of ways in which my life is kind of skewed, and I'd love to be able to start all over again. I can't fix it, but I need you to fix it for me. And here's what he does for you, those 3 lines, okay? He leads me beside, he makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, restores my soul. Number 1, he gives me rest. He makes me lie down beside in green pastures. Now, I was trying to think how best to describe this for you. And it occurred to me, and the picture there is the picture of a band playing a song, probably before most of you were born. But back in the around about 1990, there was a song called Sit Down by James, right? Any of you remember that? Okay, that's good. We're on the same page here. And James, incidentally, is not a person. James was the name of the band. They came from Manchester, and they called themselves James for reasons best known to themselves. And they had this song, and the words of the song, it's quite a kind of catchy tune to the song as well. I won't sing it for you. But it was called Sit Down, and the line immediately before you got to the chorus, sit down, was simply this. We'll put the line across there for you. Swing from high to deep, extremes of sweet and sour, hope that God exists, I hope, I pray, drawn by the undertow, my life is out of control. And I thought, yeah, that's me, my life out of control. And then it goes on, sit down. One of the kind of interesting bits of information about that song, actually, you might, just for pub quizzes and things like that, when they sang that song in Toronto, they had a kind of huge big gig out in Toronto, and they sang this song, and as they sang it, they invited people to come and actually sit down on the stage with them. And it was extraordinary what happened. Just swarms and swarms of people who went out to the stage and sat down on the stage with them, because they were saying, you know, that's my life as well. It's out of control. And I need somehow, somewhere to find someone who brings me rest. And that's one of the great messages that the Bible brings. Jesus says, come to me, all you that are weary, laden with heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. You can kind of sit down, lie down, and I'll see to things for you. And so that was the first part of the change that Jesus brings, the total refit in my life. He brings me rest. Second part of it, he leads me beside still waters, is this whole notion of refreshment. You know what it is on a kind of really hot day? I don't mean a day like today, but a really hot day. I'll put the next slide up for you. So that's rest on the one hand, refreshment on the other. He leads me beside still waters. You can get kind of dehydrated, you can get pretty thirsty, and you're looking for a drink and things like that. And a long time ago, when I was in, for the only time in my life, in the land of Israel, I was down by the Sea of Galilee, which is about 600 feet below sea level, and I thought I would climb up the hills on either side, and climb up this hill on the kind of west side of the River Jordan, and I'd get a brilliant view from there. It was a lovely hot day, and I climbed up, and I was absolutely parched by the time I got up. I hadn't got any water with me, so I came down, and there was a shop there, and I went straight in, and I saw a bottle of Coca-Cola. And I had been sufficiently aware in times past of the advert that says it's the real thing. And I thought, yeah, that's the real thing for me. And I said, yeah, give me a bottle of Coca-Cola, and we'll hide the name because we're not really meant to advertise like that. So we'll kind of scroll the name out there. But a bottle of Coca-Cola, I said, give me that. And I paid for it, and I drank it. And I'd hardly drunk it. I said, I could do with another one. And I went through 8 bottles of Coca-Cola that day. I mean, you think that's probably really damaging for me, and probably psychologically it's affected me profoundly. But 8 bottles of Coca-Cola, and eventually the shopkeeper, whose English was not brilliant, but it was good enough, he said, I think maybe, sir, you need some water. And I said, well, whatever it is, just give me it. And so he gave me some water, and the water, of course, was the real thing. And it was a reminder to me, I suppose, that often we go looking for the wrong thing to satisfy the thirst in our hearts and in our lives. And I was thirsty for something, and I didn't exactly know what it was. And then I discovered that actually what I was really thirsting for was a relationship with Jesus, the risen, living Son of God. That's what I've been looking for all my life. And he satisfied that thirst in my heart and gave me not only rest, but also refreshment as well. And the third line of that verse in the psalm, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. The third line, he restores my soul. He brings about an extraordinary renewal. And that's the kind of third picture that is painted for us here about the change that Jesus brings in a person's life. Rest, refreshment, and renewal. And for those of you who are kind of familiar with the way that sheep function, you perhaps then will realize that the really serious position that a sheep gets into is possibly the way you go to bed every night, which is to lie on your back. That's really problematic if you're a sheep. Okay, so you have, I'll put the picture of a sheep on its back on the screen for you so you see what is involved. That's called a cast sheep, when it's on its back, because a sheep on its back cannot get off its back. It waggles its feet the whole time and is frantic, like kind of swan paddling under the water like that, moving its feet around, trying somehow to get itself onto its feet again, but unable to do so. And I thought, that's a pretty good description of my life. I am trying this way, that way, doing whatever I can to try and get myself on my feet, and I'm getting absolutely nowhere in life. And here, that's what Jesus does in our lives as well. He puts us on our feet again. He restores our soul, gives us our life back again. And in putting us on our feet, he brings us into a family of God's people, part of the flock as well, and we're enabled to get back on our feet, back out in life, and live life the way that it's meant to be lived. And that's what I discovered. And that's what I found the Bible teaches all the way through. That psalm speaks of it very eloquently indeed. He makes me lie down in green waters, so he gives me rest. And I was glad of that rest because my life was out of control. Drawn by the undertow, my life out of control. And he gave me that rest, able to sit down with him. And he says, listen, I'll take the burden. I'll take the problems. And I'll do it for you. Gave me refreshment, that which I'd been looking for, longing for in life, and brought about a profound change by putting me back on my feet and enabling me to live life as it's meant to be lived. That's why we always want simply to commend this Jesus to you. You may know him. You may know that change in your life as well. That's who he is. That's what he does. And he will do it for you as well. All you need to do is say, Jesus, please, do it for me. That's what I need. I need you to fix my life as well like that. And you'll find that, you're able to start again. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to start life all over again, no matter how old or young you are, start all over again. Let me pray then with you as we close. Lord, thank you for the message that you so consistently declare to us in the Bible. Thank you that we see that illustrated in such a range of different ways, not only in the Bible, but down through history and in the lives of people around us as well. And as we pause in the middle of this week, we acknowledge that left to ourselves, we just make a mess of things too easily. Find that we're going nowhere, accomplishing nothing, and life can seem pretty empty, pretty hopeless, pretty pointless. And we need you to fix us. Not just our face, but everything about us, to fix it. And so would you help each of us simply to look to you, ask of you just that you would do that in our lives, and grant that we're weary and just got heavy burdens that are weighing us down, that you'd give us rest, that you'd help us just to sit down and find that although life has seemed to be out of control, you bring that order back to it. Would you refresh us, firing us afresh with a sense that life has a real purpose, that you have a purpose for us? And would you put us on our feet again and enable us to go again in your strength and to live lives that will be for your praise? Thank you for all that you give to us, and we ask it in your own name. Amen. Good. Well, enjoy your lunch and enjoy the chat, and lovely to see you here, and enjoy the rest of the day as well.